Welcome, baseball fans, to this edition of State of MLB. Today, we'll be reviewing Game 6 of ALCS. New York Yankees at Houston Astros return to Minute Park. The storyline of today was the Battle of the Bullpens, where both managers decided they were going to have a bullpen game. However, in the course of doing so, they decided to have Houston's starter, Peacock, start the game. He didn't go deep. As soon as he ran into trouble in the second inning, they yanked his butt out of there and brought in James. I have Euclidity listed next because he gives up the first, gives up an earned run to the Yankees. But as far as the bullpen is concerned, they do a solid job. I'll get into that. On the New York Yankees side, they have Hap available, and he does get into the game. But instead of having a bona fide actual starter like Peacock start the game, they have Green start. And they figure, okay, his 14 times during the regular season, he has had lights out 1 or 2 inning starts. So they figure, okay, our best bet in this game is to start Green and then go to somebody else. Well, Green goes 1 inning and gives up a 3-run bomb to Gurriel. The opener only works if you do put up a 0, if you have lights out baseball. And Green has been not so much this postseason, especially in the ALCS. This is like his third or fourth appearance, and he's given up runs in most of them. Having said that, they do get Hap into the game, and between Hap, Sessa, Ottavino, and Britton, yes, Ottavino actually has a solid performance in this game. Now, so it goes longer than one batter, too. Makes a difference. But they go 6 innings combined, 0 earned runs and 2 strikeouts. A lot of flats, a lot of groundouts, a lot of defense behind them. Canely comes into the 6th inning, 1 earned run, 1 innings pitch, 2 strikeouts. Euclidity goes 2 2/3 innings pitch. Contrary to Canely only going 1 inning, Euclidity goes 2 2/3 before he gives up an earned run, but he gets 5 strikeouts in the process. He does have a solid performance. Now, just to backtrack a little bit here, when you're going into a game where your team is coming home up 3-1, the odds are stacked heavily in your favor, like 76% or something like that, that you're going to close it out at home. Any Yankees fans were very much like, okay, we can take this one game at a time and we can do this, because the Boston Red Sox did to us in 2004. That was a very rare occurrence. It was almost unprecedented to see a team go down on the road and take 5, 6, and 7 to win the championship. And Boston had a lot more in their favor doing that. They had Pedro Martinez, they had Kurt Schilling on their regular rest, a solid lineup, a strong bullpen. They had the pieces in place that New York in 2004 did not have. The starters who beat Pedro and Schilling in games 1 and 2 were severely less effective in games 5, 6, and 7. It was a night and day difference, and and Boston went into 2004's game 6 and 7 with a certain air of, hey, we're playing with house money here. We're not expected to win. We have our best pitchers, fresh, ready to rock and roll, and we just stole game 5 in Boston by a huge, so I wouldn't say based upon a score necessarily you stole it, but you get the idea. Circling back to this series here, Astros fans had a great deal to be confident about going into this, because you had a bona fide starter starting the game, you had a very well-rested bullpen, and you had Cole in Game 7. You don't want to use Cole, you want him going to Game 1 on Tuesday against Nationals, but you had him available. Plus you had your home crowd, Minute Park, going absolutely ballistic. And you, unlike the Yankees, you have actually proven that you own home field. They won Game 2 and they won Game 6. Game 1, where Greinke came in there and just had an average game but got outdueled by Tanaka, chalk that up to just tip your hat to Tanaka. He had a phenomenal game. Outside of that, 3 earned runs on 6 innings or less with Greinke was still a solid start. And outside of that game, you still had Houston owning their home field advantage, feasting on that. And they're going to get to do that again in games 1, 2, 6, and 7 of the World Series against the Nationals. Knowing that you had everything in your favor, it was almost a foregone conclusion that Astros were going to take this game. And fundamentally, they do an absolutely phenomenal job. They start off with a great precedent, getting a 3-run home run off of Gurriel. In the 6th, Bregman ground out, brings in a man. They go up 4-2. Then, oh my goodness, all of the attention and all the edge of your seat action is in the 9th. And this is what I love about postseason baseball. Because if you can go take all that action, all that double guessing and criticism and everything else that goes on through the course of the game and wipe it off the slate in the 9th inning, none of that matters anymore because now you've got a tied game. LeMahieu, 2-run home run off of closer Ozuna. Wow. I mean, talk about on the edge of your seat, takes your breath away. You in a similar situation where in 2001, where granted the Yankees had a 2-1 lead on the Astros Diamondbacks going in 9th inning, but you had your closer Mariano Rivera on the mound. Here you have Ozuna, you heavily 4-2. He gives up the home run. But you have unlike in Arizona, where Arizona was the home team. Here, you're at the top of the 9th. You have that opportunity to bat at the bottom of the 9th. Ozuna gives up the 2-run home run. Game is tied. Astros fans are in shock. Ozuna is pissed off at himself, and rightfully so. I get that, but he's also human. Here, now you have a tie game, 4-4, going to the bottom of the 9th. You still have your top of your lineup. You've got Springer getting on. Then you've got Altuve coming up with Brantley and Bregman coming after him. So you have your top 4 best hitters. You can't ask for a better setup going into the bottom of the 9th. Yes, they have Aroldis Chapman, but Aroldis Chapman is no Mariano Rivera. He's no Eric Gagne. He's no Hoffman. He's a good closer. He gets the job done, but he walks a very fine line. Yes, he can pitch 100 miles an hour, and 10 years ago, that was a phenomenon worth a $20 million paycheck. I get that. Now, everybody's throwing 100. You get the idea. Not everybody, but everyone is throwing high 90s. Batters are used to it. To the point where Chapman had to incorporate a slider to an 88 mile an hour slider to take batters or higher hitters off balance. At the same time, he was showing that he was unable to use those pitches in an effective manner between his command and pitch selection to get things done because he doesn't get a strikeout here. He gives up a hit to Springer, then Altuve hits a 2-run bomb. Game over. Houston wins. ALCS over. Wonderful job by the Houston Astros. You are World Series bound. And while it was still a foregone conclusion you were going to win it, I give you hats off because you closed the door. You got it done. You say, okay, we lost Game 5. They bested Verlander. But we are more than one man. We have a deep lineup. We have a solid rotation. We've got a strong bullpen. Look at all the zeros. Their bullpen showed up across how many innings? Because it was 1 2/3. You've got to fill, 7 1/3 innings out of the bullpen. And they do it. Granted, a lot of it was 2 2/3 from Urquidy, but the rest of the bullpen goes 3 innings and 2/3. And all with no earned runs given up. Phenomenal job by the bullpen. You showed your dominance. You showed you were the best team in the American League. And for all the hype that you have about home runs scored and runs scored by the Yankees, you showed that dominant pitching still wins championships. Of all of the power hitters you have between Judge, between Urshela, between Didi Gregorius, between Gleyber Torres. You shut them all down. They even brought in Edwin Canacion at the All-Star break, and he went hitless. Hitless! And they picked him over Stanton because Stanton was still kind of getting over an injury. He was still able to play DH, but they decided to let him rest instead. And since he was 0-for in the previous game, it made a game that New York won. I get they need to be cautious, but this is also the end of the line. Now the whole team has a whole offseason to think about what happened in this game, in which tip your hat to Altuve. He brought it home, and he got the ALCS MVP for the 2-run bomb off of Chapman. Granted, it was a 6-game stretch, and there was a lot of back and forth, and there was a lot of contributors from the Astros, but getting the game winner in Game 6 gives him the whole series MVP. That's kind of how things work in baseball. Short-term memory, folks. He got the game-winning home run, so he gets credit to get MVP for the whole series. Granted, he did contribute a lot throughout the series. He just wasn't the only one who did a lot of contributions. And I've always found it was interesting that outside of the World Series in which the San Francisco pitcher Bumgarner wins 3 games himself, you don't see pitchers get MVPs in these series. Sure, Schilling and Johnson shared MVP in 2001 because without them, you don't have a World Series championship. Those two in and of themselves not only won 3 games in 01, but they also combined to win Game 7 there. It was just, you don't see pitchers get the credit they deserve when it comes to MVP voting, and I get it, because hitting, you have to score runs to win games, and hitting is more exciting. It sells tickets, it gets people excited. I get that. So congratulations to Altuve for the MVP. Congratulations to the Houston Astros for your Game 6 win and the ALCS win. Congratulations for the 2nd AL pennant in 3 years. And congratulations for your 3rd consecutive ALCS. You went from a team that could not win games in the National League Central to you went through a couple of rocky years in the AL West trying to gain your footing and being a doormat for other teams to now you've brought in the talent and the players and the acquisitions and draft picks and everything else you need to build a championship caliber team. I will say championship team because you haven't won the World Series yet. You got one 2 years ago with the Dodgers and a wonderful job there, but then you lost to Boston last year and now you're back in against Washington. So you have a championship caliber team, a team that has proven time and time again that they can not only win the regular season, but they can get to the big show, and here you are. Congratulations, Houston Astros. I'm looking forward to the series and seeing what you can do against the Washington Nationals. Speaking of which, next up is our bracket update for the NL and AL Championship Series and predictions for the World Series. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Please leave your comments in the section below. Let me know what you think about the whole series, about Game 6, about how things went down, about how each team played out the series. And if you just happen to be coming across this video on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you all very much for your support. I'll see you next time.